Hi, everyone, and welcome to this very special LinkedIn Live event. My name is Tony Lawrence. I'm with Peoplyst, a workplace transformation agency that helps companies solve people problems. Today's conversation is extra special because it marks the beginning of an exciting partnership between Peoplyst and Elaina Zuker. Together, we're bringing Secrets of Influence training to companies everywhere. This program is designed to develop influential leaders at every level, from your newest team members to seasoned executives. Whether it's building stronger teams, leading organizational change, or sharpening management skills, this training is all about creating lasting impact through influence. And who better to guide us than today's guest, my friend Elaina Zuker, a renowned consultant, keynote speaker, and global best-selling author of The 7 Secrets of Influence. Elaina has helped leaders across industries harness the power of influence to achieve their goals. We're here to learn from her expertise and dive into what makes influence such a game-changing skill. So here's what we'll cover today. Elaina will share the definition of influence, myths and misconceptions about it, share the overarching principle slash secret of influence. We'll discuss how influence can transform leadership, teamwork, and organizational culture. And we'll share more about the Secrets of Influence training program and how it can benefit your company. So be sure to drop your questions into the chat as we go, which Elaina will respond to, time permitting. And stick around until the end for a special offer for our viewers. Elaina, welcome.
Thank you so much, Tony. I'm excited to be here and answer all your questions if I can.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a great time, and some folks are still joining, and we're glad that people have come along for
Okay,
the
welcome.
ride. So, what's that?
I said, welcome, welcome.
Welcome, welcome. So let's start with the basics, Elaina. Let's just dive right into it. What is influence, and how would you define it for someone who hasn't read your book yet?
Okay, great question. First of all, I want to say that my definition of influence doesn't have anything to do with having 200K followers on Instagram. I have been using this word for a very long time, and now the word influencer is a very big deal in social media. But I
Right.
look at it a bit differently. So, the dictionary definition of influence is the power, it's a power like electricity or nuclear power, seen only in its effect without exertion of force or formal authority. So, it's easy to say I have influence because I'm the boss, but that's
Right.
not real influence. Influence is, as I say, it's a power, and I'll get into more detail in a while. But
Mm-hmm.
interestingly, Tony, an archaic definition in the dictionary says that influence is an ethereal fluid flowing from the stars said to have magical powers over man or woman. And I thought that was so interesting because influence, like magic, seems very effortless when it's done well. But
So true.
like magic, it requires a lot of skill and practice behind the scenes in order to come out looking like easy.
Yeah, no, that's very true. There's a fluidity to it, for sure. So let me ask you this: is influence the same as communication skills, or is it something different altogether?
Well, it's not different. Let me just say it that communication skills is a very broad set of skills, and influence skills are a set within that. So
Okay.
you can be good at communication skills, getting along with people, teammates, coworkers, etc., but you may not know anything about that specific slice, which is influence skills.
Okay. Yeah, that I'm just trying to think through that and let the viewers let that ruminate a little bit. So how about misconceptions in ethics, right? So some people might say influence sounds like manipulation, and I think they might be right. It does sound like that to a degree. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, that's a great question because, in my experience, when I'm teaching classes, this comes up a lot. And you're not going to learn something well if you just feel icky about it, right? So let me set it straight. So, as I said, influence is a power like electricity. You can use it for good or bad. Um, the way I like to look at the difference is that two factors: intent and effect. So,
Right.
first one, intent is, are my intentions honorable? Do I feel honestly that at the end of our interaction, you will have learned something, you will have gotten some benefit out of our interaction? So, if I can answer that positively, then that would be positive influence. And then effect.
Well,
How,
so on that, real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you're really looking for an internal cue of benevolence. So you're really trying to make sure that
yeah.
your intent is as altruistic as possible and not forced or simply influencing for what you're trying to gain. You're really trying to self evaluate, self examine, and make sure that what you're doing truly is as altruistic as possible, in as much as altruism is possible. Is that accurate?
Yes. I mean, you just have to look into your heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we all have a compass, and you know when what you're doing. The other thing is, I would say that this is that influence the way that we teach it is not covert. You know, I've seen some things on the internet like learn the dark magic of influence, right? And so, and there are some people who are, you know, teaching hypnosis and things like that. In my
Wow.
in my opinion, that's unethical
Mhm.
because it's not transparent. So
That's so interesting. That's quite a dichotomy that you're describing there, especially the definition you gave earlier about this sort of flowing freely, like starlight to a degree, right? That is rather antithetical to the benevolent approach that you're describing. When obviously you want influence in a situation, but to go about it the right way, that you can do it through dark magic or do it as you described earlier, more naturally and again from by searching your heart, right? Doing it the right way.
exactly, and very transparent. So the other
Yeah.
aspect, like I said, intent and effect, to piggyback on what you're saying, Tony, how does it feel over there at your end? What is the effect of my influence attempt? Do you feel like I have taught you something or benefited you? And if you can answer that, or do you not feel exploited or manipulated or had, then I would say that that is also positive influence. And so, and I think every situation is different. You can't really give a blanket answer to this, but I think
Yeah.
that you, you know, you will know. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
what you're saying reminds me too of, I think of just from an investment point, right? You can invest in the markets. Think of like Warren Buffett, right? Just a genius, master money man. But he often talks about taking the long view or having the long view. And what you're saying makes me think of having the long view in a relationship. What I mean is, and if I'm, correct me, but you might gain influence even benevolently in a situation. But if you're thinking of the long term impact of that relationship and how things are going to be, not after winning that deal or, that contract or whatever, but how's that person going to react to you when they see you on the street three
yeah.
months, 6 months from now, right? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Absolutely. And, you know, trust, I will tell a little story here if time
Great.
permits. So I'll tell you a little. Many years ago, I had given a speech. Actually, I was living in a county in Florida, and I had given a speech to a group of, I don't know, 100 women entrepreneurs about influence. And then people came up, you know, We had only paperbacks. So people came up and bought the book and I signed it. And one woman gave me a check. I mean, they were members of an organization. So, I was pretty lax and I said, okay, I'll take a personal check. Although, it's a pain. But anyway, I took this personal check and, it was like $20. And I went to the bank and like deposited all the checks. And I got a notice that this one was NSF.
Mm,
And, I thought, well, everyone can make a mistake. Maybe you didn't deposit your paycheck, or maybe it's, who knows, the wrong account
yeah.
or whatever. So I contacted her a couple of times by email, and she never got back to me. And I thought, okay, well, it's just a $20 loss, but I never forgot that name. And a few years later, I was looking for property. She was a real estate agent, and I was looking for property in that county. And who do you think I didn't call as a realtor?
Yeah, I think that's pretty obvious.
Yeah. So there you go. So trust, as you say, when you bump into somebody on the street. So I never bumped into her, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So, for someone who might assume, and I think this is a very natural assumption, that some people, Elaina, are just born influencers. How can those who don't naturally have that skill develop it?
What a great question. So some people are, like I was scheming and coming up with businesses at, 10 and 11 years old. But that doesn't mean that I was an influencer. And I think it's true that some people, you say he has the gift of gab, and
Hmm.
that could be true. But being able to talk well doesn't mean that you're influencing other people. So I think that even people who feel that they're natural influencers would do well to learn these sets of skills, because you learn an analysis of what you're doing well and what you could use some improvement on. So so you may be a born influencer, but I still feel you would have a lot to learn.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, there are plenty of people who they have the gift of gab, but are they going to influence me? I don't know
Yeah.
that that's the case, right? So having the gift of gab can be a gift. It can also be a curse. But coupled with what we're talking about, some of these secrets of influence would make for a more effective transaction, if you will, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah.
So why do you feel that influence is so important in the 21st century? That might be a silly question, but why more so now than say the 20th century or past centuries? What comes to mind is we are so AI driven. So much of what we do and we're involved in seems superficial. And so is that what it is, that influence being a human power that you've sort of described? Is that why it's so important now, maybe more than in past eras?
Yes, I would say not even yes, the 21st century, because we're just at the first quarter of it, starting
True.
in 2 weeks. But it's not me saying it. The World Economic Forum and Harvard Business Review have both done studies, and mostly about what skills are going to become obsolete and which ones will rise as being not only important but necessary to survive and thrive, in this new economy. Remember, we're kind of
Yeah.
coming into a gig economy, whether we like it or
Yeah.
not. So
I'd say we're deep into it. We're deep into this gig economy, right? And states, government are trying to figure out how to deal with all this, right? It just
exactly.
creates a whole work dynamic. So continue.
So these studies that World Economic Forum and Harvard Business Review did revealed that some skills like rote, repetitive tasks are already being handled by AI. But
Yes.
what is rising as most important are what they're calling social skills and social influence, they call it. And
Yeah.
as an author, it was such a long time ago, but the guy was very prescient in what he predicted was going on. It's a book called Megatrends. Have you heard
Hmm.
of it? Okay.
I've heard of it. I've not read it, but I've heard of it.
So the author is John Nesbitt. I can
Okay.
put that in the chat later. And what he said was quite a long time ago that high tech leaps ahead, high touch lags behind. So as we're becoming more technically proficient, our personal skills are becoming rusty. And so we may not realize it. And of course, since this, since COVID, we've been working at home. That makes it even more challenging because we're trying to create relationships on the at best on Zoom.
Mm.
So, for example, like today, you're seeing us, but we can't see you. So that's another barrier. So it is a must skill. And I'm sure people are finding that in their everyday work as well.
Yeah, that's an astute point. I think about how, we often discuss from governance terms, right? That technology far outpaces the government's ability to regulate,
Oh, for
right?
sure. Yes.
And it's interesting because and I think the way you framed that, it just seems to make it so much more palpably important that we gain skills of influence because we can't rely on the government, right? We're not going to have these sort of massive solutions to some of these issues. We're going to have to be responsible in and of ourselves to
Wow.
not treat our relationships like the next Android or iPhone. Hey, it's obsolete in a year. I think what you're talking about, it makes us think about that we cannot throw things away, and I hope we don't, as quickly as we do with technology,
Yeah.
because it's changing so quickly.
You know what? That's such a great point. I was going to say, which I often say, that um, that what you in the coming work environment, neither what you know, that is your technical expertise, nor who you know, even your network of contacts, can just poof go away in the next merger or acquisition. And that has
Oh,
happened to me, right? And so
mm,
all you
me
have,
too. Yeah.
so neither what you know nor who you know will guarantee your success. And what I call this is it's portable power.
Hmm.
So you could say, when you asked me the definition, I mean, it's not in any dictionary, but I will take license with it. That influence is portable power, in that you have it within you wherever you happen to land, and even if you do find yourself, on the other side of your corporation, and into the gig economy, this
Mm.
will absolutely serve you.
So I'm loving this conversation. I hope you're enjoying it too. You're just
Yes.
such a wonderful guest. This is so much fun for me.
Well, me.
So there are folks watching right now, and you and I both know this is true. They're thinking, no, influence is only for managers, executives, salespeople, not for me, right? They might see themselves as not as high, in the hierarchy. How do you respond to that? Somebody, because I guarantee someone's thinking that right now, watching
Okay.
this conversation.
Well, first of all, we can direct them to that section on the website, which we'll put in the chat later, which describes different cohorts in the organization and why influence skills will benefit them. So we have like
Okay.
executives, managers, etc. One population that is you would not think would be so interested in these skills are IT people. So many IT people are very underserved in the corporate
Mm.
and government universe, because they get sent to training if it's some technical iteration of their field and they have to just be up to date, or if they become a manager, they might get sent to management training. But it's very under taught to IT, to technical people, and they love it. In fact, in one instance, I was doing this for a group of tech people, and we called the program MISTIC, Mastering
Mhm.
Influence Skills for Technical Information Communication. So, and for salespeople, all salespeople, including you, Tony, and me, I started my career in sales. Um, we all want that extra edge. We never
Right.
feel like we have it down in terms of selling skills. So this is a natural add-on or refinement for a sales force.
Mhm.
In terms of team members, I just want to say this for a minute. What we found is that when team members take our assessment, there is an assessment that where people learn what is their influence profile over 6 styles. I know you're going to ask that in a while, but so um, what they find in a team is that once the other team members know your profile, you can communicate much more openly and transparently and successfully. So I hope that answers that for now.
Well, you and I think last week had a conversation about this, and you told me about this. And I think for those watching today, this was a very interesting dialogue that you and I had, right? Because sometimes you get in a situation where maybe you're new to a company or new to a department, and someone says, "Hey, don't talk to Jack, don't talk to Karen, don't talk to Bill, don't whatever."
Yeah.
Well, why not? Why do we not want to talk to them and have interpersonal dialogue with that individual? Well, because he or she is this or that. They're upset. They're hard to talk to. But really, what we had a great dialogue on was you said no. Through this book, through the course, whatever, what you're doing is teaching people to not shy away and hide their style, but actually as a team talk about and learn. First of all, learn, identify what each person's style is, and then you can maybe match that style when you're communicating at a later time, and that actually makes for more cohesive. If you I think it's really inclusive, right? Because now you're including everybody in that dialogue because you know how to communicate with each person. Is that accurate?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So
I
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
All right. Well, hey, so the book's called Seven Secrets of Influence. Who came up with the idea of the styles of influence, and how did you refine it?
Okay, well, that's a great question too. So, I wish I could say that I was a psychological assessment wizard, but I do have a background in organization development, which is organizational psychology.
Okay.
But I also have had a very long career in sales of very large sales in the advertising industry and other industries.
When you were
So
living in New York, right?
I was living in New York
Yeah.
City. And
Hmm.
so in the mad world of advertising. So I observed people who were very successful at influence. And I sort of took note of what behaviors and skills they were using.
Hmm.
And then I came up with this very rough draft. And believe it or not, it started as 6 rhyming words that were kind of a poetic. And then I'm not going to go into them now, but what I later, when I was a professor at a university, I combined my academic rigor with my, real world, on the street knowledge and experience, and I came up with these styles. And
Mhm.
then I beta tested the questionnaire that I had, which was very rough. And finally, I worked with a team of psychometric psychologists, which is a little in the weeds, and I won't go into that now. But that was how I refined it.
Okay, great. Yeah. So let's get practical for a second. How do you influence someone that you don't know well? And how do we develop the flexibility to adapt our style to different situations?
Okay, well, it's very tricky when you don't know someone, but when you do understand this spectrum of different uh, clusters of behaviors that form the styles, people are sending you cues all the time, but you didn't have let's say, the 3D glasses or the radar to pick up what they were emitting. So I will tell another little story. So I think sometimes you have to read the room, and so I was invited with several other competitors, training companies, to pitch a huge organization for a contract to teach a program like this. It wasn't this one. They didn't have, they sort of had a name for it.
Okay.
They gave me 6 months in advance a very thick binder, blue and white, with all these different sections. We were in the days of print, laying out all the criteria for what they said they wanted in this program. So I looked at it and studied it with my team. And then they gave us a date to show up. You can imagine how stressful that is. And
Hmm.
what was funny was that we were in some kind of green room, and it was, it wasn't very, it was in their corporate headquarters, not very fancy.
Hmm.
But all right, it was AT&T, so no frills, but a
Hmm.
zillion people. Or any other props that we needed. So we're in this green room, and I saw some flip charts, which were obviously from the pitches of the other companies, and I sort of wanted to look, but I dared not. So, to be honest, we looked
How
at
ethical of you. I'm impressed.
well, there were other people with me. I don't know what I would have done if I was alone.
Okay. You had witnesses.
So, like gold stars, maybe like, with 3 stars.
Sure.
So anyway, we get in the room, and there is like this table that looks like the Supreme Court, and there's these like 5 people sitting like this, and they look very judgy, very judgmental. But that's just their resting face. It doesn't mean that
I see
they're
my
leaving.
in-laws right now. I'm getting pictures of my in-laws. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
I do. Oh yeah.
So
Crystal clear.
I did something very bold. I used 10 minutes of my 45 minutes to read the room. And
Mm.
this will answer, I hope, in a way, your question. And so
Yeah.
I asked them a couple of questions, like, what are the main things that would cause you to say yes and buy a training program? And, one person would say it has to be within our budget. And I looked to see who in that group agreed with her.
Mm.
Then I would ask another question. And I also got to see kind of the pecking order a little bit, like who
Hmm.
was agreeing with who. And because I made the assumption, right or wrong, that whoever was responsible, the committee that created that binder 6 months ago, were probably not these same people that were in the room. They may have switched people because you never know. And
Right.
so I, assumed from zero that I still wanted to understand what these very people wanted. And
Hmm.
so I came up with some answers, some criteria, and then I dumped in my mind like whole sections of my presentation. And so
Wow.
I felt, and also I had warmed up the room a bit
Hmm.
because by letting them speak, I was creating, however superficial in 10 minutes, a little relationship with them. So then
Yeah.
I focused on what they said they wanted. And of course, the end of the story was, what do you think, Tony?
I think it's great. So did you win?
There you go. Yes. Would I
That's
tell the story if I didn't? Maybe, but yes, we went. We
No,
we
that's good, right? Read the room, take the social cues, so the contextual clues around you, and adapt. That's what I take from that, and that makes a lot of sense. Do you think people can change their influence style, or is it fixed as a part of their character?
No, it's really just what they've been using so far.
Oh,
So
I
what
like that.
they
I'm gonna steal that.
what they come into the class or the training with is their default, and they take the assessment, which kind of looks at that. And then some people take the assessment, a month or two after, and see what their profile is after they've learned the styles. So
Okay,
yes, indeed, when you can definitely change your style and styles once you know what they are. See, most people
right.
are operating on automatic. You've done what you always did. And,
Mm.
as they say, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you always got.
Always good. Yeah,
Right. And
yeah.
so this is a way to change that and improve it.
So you've worked with, if I'm wrong, correct me, but major pharmaceutical companies, Sheridan Hotels, Ogilvy, L'Oreal, with this training. So, uh, how are these companies, and smaller companies too, obviously, but how are these companies? You share some examples of how they're applying these ideas within their organizations.
Right. Well, in some organizations, they've used it in teams, as I
Okay.
explained before. So when all the team members get to understand what the different styles are of the members, it becomes much more transparent and really much more pleasant. Instead of wondering what Tony um, wants to hear, I
Hmm.
can pretty much figure it out if I understand his style. So again, I like to say that influence happens one person at a time. So even though we are influencing uh, people in groups in the organization, like right now, I'm talking to one participant at a time, even though I
Hmm.
don't know how many people are here. So the
Hmm.
way the companies are using it, sales groups are finding that their uh, success ratio is vastly improving. In fact, one client, she said, she sent me a testimonial and said, since I've been using Elena's techniques, my success ratio has catapulted to 88%. And I said, look, I can't say that. It sounds
Hmm.
made up. She said, it's absolutely true. So,
Wow. Yeah, it's incredible.
and that's in sales. So,
Hmm.
this is someone who, there are a lot of big ahas in this program. So,
Yeah, well,
yeah,
I think, yeah, and we've discussed some of those, but I think too, just from the peopleist standpoint, as workforce transformation agency, we know empirically, right, that when you invest in your people, not only are you going to see higher sales, you're going to see better interpersonal communication across departments, across leaders. but you're also investing in your employees, right? And employees who feel invested in will stick around longer. You're going to reduce your turnover rates, right? So to me, when you do something like this, like the Secrets of Influence training, it's a no-brainer, right? It's going to have lasting impact and reverberate across the organization, and really probably in many ways transform culture as well. So my last question is
Well,
this,
before
and
you go
there's so much.
on,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know how our time is doing, but um, one thing about changing the culture is that, I mean, it sounds a bit corny, but each of these styles has a name, which I'm not going to go into now, but they all rhyme and they're very, very easy to remember. So this is simple, but it's not easy. You know, I want to say it's taken me 20 years to to make this one day program very, very simple, so anybody can understand it really. And
Well, we can have another follow-up call, right? We could have a follow-up call and talk more about some of this stuff. And you'd be open to that, wouldn't
absolutely,
you?
well, absolutely. So
Have I treated you well? Hopefully, you'll come
yes,
back, hang out with
ab-
Peoplest.
absolutely, I would love to. So
Well,
go
great.
ahead.
Yeah, sure. So, I think one thing that we're about to have in common is just being authors. So I've got a book coming out next year. I'm excited about a psychological thriller, but I want to talk about your journey as an author. I'm very
Congrats.
interested in this. So I love. Thank you. No, congrats to you. I mean, international bestseller. I hope I stand on the shoulder of a giant. So I'd love to hear though, Elaina, about your journey as an author. Anyone who might be, looking at
Yeah.
writing a book or is in the process of it? And where do you get your ideas for your books and seminars? Are they based on your own experiences, that kind of stuff? Can you maybe shed some light on that?
I can, and we can have another call. Mostly the books that I've written so far are books that have to do with work that I do, like assertiveness and secrets of influence. I'll just show off for a minute here.
Yes, show
Um,
off.
so, so this is the book, Seven Secrets of Influence, which was has a lot of exercises in it,
Yes.
participative exercises that participants in the program, of course, get the book as ongoing learning. And I do want to mention that there's an e-learning version of the live course, which Peoplest is now going to offer as a either standalone or as a supplemental learning for students who come to the class. So he'll
Yes,
talk
we're
more
excited
about,
about that. Very
and
excited.
he'll talk more about that, in more detail. And
Yeah.
how I get my ideas, for example, this has nothing to do with influence in a way. It's called U times two, and it was something that was percolating for many years. It's about peer mentoring and how people can, instead of looking for a mentor who's, the guru on top of the mountain or on top of the org chart, it's someone that it might be a peer to you, but who has a skill that you need. But that's for
Mhm.
another day. So
Yeah.
my ideas. Well, I'm very excited about your idea about a novel, and I was about to answer your question online, where you asked, "Well, who are your favorite thriller authors?" So I'll get back to that. But
Okay.
congratulations to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited about that. But enough about me. This is all about Elaina.
Well, if
So
people
look,
want to know anything about my books, you can
yes.
just go to the website. It's easyinfluence.com. And the books are all there in the front uh, top banner. So you'll see them also on my LinkedIn profile. Okay.
So Elaina, any closing thoughts? Anything else you just want to impart before we
You
close
know, I
things up?
just want to say that I've been talking about this and writing about it for so many years, and I'm still excited when people graduate, if you will, and get these ahas and say, these cues, this was there all along. I just didn't have again, I say as a metaphor, the 3D glasses. And you know, it isn't just restricted to your workplace. This works in your family and friend and social people as well. So,
Right.
my closing remark is do it.
Do it. You heard it from Elaina Zuker, everybody. Just do it. Get out there, improve your influence game. Well, look, hey, Elaina, it has been amazing having you
Thank
today,
you.
and
What a good
and
I love your follow-up questions, Tony.
hey, you make it really easy, but we appreciate your insights. It's clear that influence is a skill we all need to master, not just to lead effectively, right, but to thrive in today's fast-paced world. So, hey, as we mentioned earlier, Peoplyst and Elaina are partnering to bring the Secrets of Influence training to organizations just like yours. This program is all about developing your people, from executives to teams, with the skills they need to communicate, lead, and produce results. So, some things included in the program I should probably mention as well, Elaina: executive development, just kind of building a foundation and culture among those leading your organization into the future; team development, creating cohesive, high-performing teams that can handle stress, communicate effectively, and support one another; organizational change, the big one these days; equipping everyone, managers and employees alike, with the strategies to thrive in today's high-speed and high-tech business environment; and then management skills as well, just helping managers from Fortune 500 leaders to entrepreneurs expand their skill sets for high performance and exciting results. So the special offer I
I
mentioned at
just
the
want to mention
oh, go
two
ahead,
more
Elaina. Yep.
important groups, which we mentioned earlier. So one of them is IT people.
Mm-hmm.
As I said earlier, they're underserved and not get
Right.
enough of these kind of skills. And
Mm-hmm.
also salespeople who, are always looking for an extra edge.
Yes, that is gospel truth. Well, speaking of secrets of influence and all that it involves and who it serves, if you're interested in bringing secrets of influence training to your organization, we'd love to hear from you. You can email me at tony.lawrence@peoplyst.com. And in the subject, just add influence. I'll get to you somehow, but just type influence. I was on the live discussion with you and Elaina, and we'll find a way to pass that discount on to you. Availability is tight. This is important to mention. It's very tight right now. So we're currently scheduling sessions for late January. So don't wait to reserve your spot. Again, you can just email tony.lawrence@peoplyst.com. So I also encourage you, as Elaina showed a minute ago, to pick up a copy of Elaina's book, The 7 Secrets of Influence, for more insights on today's topic. And thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to follow me here on LinkedIn, follow Elaina, and follow Peoplyst as well for more events like these. And feel free to share your thoughts or questions in the comments. Have a great day, everyone. Elaina, thank you so much. You're a gem. You're a
My,
friend, and I look forward to keeping this going. Okay.
my pleasure. I love the conversation. Do we have time for questions?
Let's see if we have any in the chat. We can maybe give it a second.
Okay. I would love to answer questions, and if I can't answer them, right now, I'll be happy to, you can write to me by email.
That sounds good. We might just approach it that way. But and some people probably join late as well. But Elaina, thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks everyone for joining. Have a wonderful
Awesome. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Tony. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it. It was just like a conversation. So I appreciate all your great questions. Thank you.
Pleasure's all mine. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great day, Elaina. Thank you so much.